First, start by introducing yourself.
My name is Randy Williams, but no one calls me that except my mom.
Okay.
When I'm in trouble. My nickname is R-Dub.
What brings you to Mozambique?
I'm currently on a mission to see all 193 countries in the world, and Mozambique is country number 107. So I've seen 106 countries as of yesterday, and then last night I landed in Maputo, which is 107.
Why are you doing this?
That's a tough question, Charles. Traveling for me has opened my mind and opened my heart, and I believe that I've become a better person because of travel. And you know, so many Americans, they don't travel a lot. They stay in their country. They're afraid to venture out. I started traveling about 5 years ago, seriously, and I found that the people I meet and the stories that I'm able to see firsthand are amazing. For example, you, and I'm sitting here in this amazing, beautiful building. I've met 3 wonderful people so far. I've met you, I've met Maria, I've met the young lady down below. I'm in this gorgeous, tall, marble building from the 1930s that is housing such history. Who gets to do that? You only get to do things like that if you travel and if you step out of your comfort zone. So most of my friends would never go to Africa. I, on the other hand, I absolutely love it. Mozambique is a very special country to me because I'm studying Portuguese. So I'm just delighted to be able to walk the streets and meet strangers, talk to people, practice my Portuguese. It's been a lot of fun.
What did you know about Mozambique before you landed?
Not much. I did know that it's, I believe, one of 7 or 8 countries that speak Portuguese outside of Portugal. I know that you have your independence, obviously, from Portugal, but that's about it. That's really all I know. So one thing I do on purpose is sometimes I only do a little bit of research before I travel somewhere because I want to learn from the people. Meaning I could read it online or in a book or on the internet, but I'd rather sit down with someone like you, Charles, and ask you your take. Because history books aren't always the truth. I like to hear from the people who live in the country to tell me their version of history, because there's different versions of history. You understand?
So what impressed you as you stepped off the plane?
Well, I got in late last night, so for me, I was excited just to see the Portuguese writing above, because it's a language that I've always loved, and I'm trying to learn and trying to get better. I got in late last night, so I didn't see much. I stayed at a very nice guest house. This morning I had my first walk, and what impressed me was the architecture. I absolutely love it. It reminds me of Mozambique, reminds me of maybe a cross between Havana, Cuba, and Brazil. Whether it's the sidewalks, the monuments, the beautiful, beautiful buildings. Took a lot of pictures of buildings. And the people on the street were very nice to me.
Is there any difference between what you have been reading before coming here and what you saw when you landed?
You know, for me, no. For most people, I would say yes. And if I can just rewind, my first time in Africa was about 1.5 years ago. And as an American who'd never been to Africa, you know, I heard good things, but then I heard some not so good things. And, you know, I'm embarrassed to say that I was a little scared going to Africa my first time. I traveled to Africa alone, and Africa has changed my life. And this is my 3rd time in Africa, in the continent. And I absolutely love it. The one thing that I could say is that I find interesting when people ask me about Africa is that every country in the continent of Africa is so different. So different. And many Americans believe, well, first of all, many Americans believe that Africa is a country. And we know it's not. It's a continent with many countries. But many Americans believe that Africa is just this one country, that everything's the same. That it's all a safari, you know? So to see different landscapes, whether it's Morocco or I was in Nigeria last week, I was in Namibia, this morning exploring Mozambique. The countries of Africa are so different and so colorful, and I continue to be surprised on every one. I'm just really happy to be in Mozambique today.
Is Mozambique different from some of the African countries you've been to?
100% different.
What's the biggest difference?
The biggest difference to me, number one, is the language. It's Portuguese. Which again, I understand that's because of the Portuguese rule for so many years. The architecture I think is stunning. The history. I see you're building a big bridge, by the way. I see the Chinese are here building a giant bridge. I walked under that bridge today. But for me, so far, and I've only been here not even 24 hours, it would be the architecture and the food. And I'm looking forward to trying some more food while I'm here.
What will make you come back to Mozambique one day?
Well, right now, I'm on a tour of trying to see every country in the world, and I'm doing it very quickly. So, unfortunately, this trip to Mozambique is only 2 nights. Some of the other countries on this trip have only been 1 night. For example, last week in Nigeria, I landed at the airport at 3 a.m., and I left at 11 p.m., same day. So, less than 24 hours.
What are you hoping to take back to the U.S.?
So what I would like to do is I'd like to see all the countries, kind of like think of a buffet, right? You go to the buffet and you try a little bite of everything, and you come back to the food that you love the most. So there are countries that, and I can already tell you Mozambique is one of them. I am very sad that I won't be able to go up north and visit some of the other towns. In my research I've done, not only is Maputo a beautiful city, but there are many other places in your country to see. So that's why I'm going to go back to see the rest. Spend some more time.
Okay, let me provoke you.
Okay.
If you were to write a book right now, what will be the title of the book about Mozambique?
Wow, about Mozambique. See, it would be, number one, it would be unfair for me to write a book on Mozambique. But I would, wow, that's tough. I would say that, so the title of the book, I would, you put me on the spot. You're a good interviewer because you're making me think. The title of my book of Mozambique would be, I would probably call it The Colors of Mozambique, and it would feature a lot of photos. Because I did take a lot of photos this morning of, again, some beautiful buildings, the streets, the statues. So it would probably be called Os Cores do Moçambique, and it would be maybe a picture journal and a few words with a prologue or an ending saying chapter 2 is coming up next. And the next book would be after I come back for a longer time and get to talk to some people and get some stories.
I'm reading your card here. It's written local media. Why local media?
So that's our company. And without boring you about the radio industry in the United States, we're called local media for one reason. In the U.S., something I think sad has happened over the past 20 years, and that is giant corporations were able to buy up hundreds, literally hundreds of radio stations. 20 years ago, there was a law that went away, and the law said that any one company could only own a handful of radio stations. So all the radio stations across America, it's a big country, most of them were locally owned. Okay, so a company could only come in and maybe buy 3 or 4 radio stations. Well, once that law went away, it entitled these giant companies on Wall Street to buy up hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of radio stations. So sadly, radio stations left the hands of local operators, live and local operators, and now you have just 1 or 2 or 3 companies that owned all of the radio stations. So we call it a monopoly. And it was very sad for a bunch of reasons. It took the locality out of radio. Radio was less local. People lost a lot of jobs because they decided to hire one DJ to broadcast on 30 different radio stations, etc. And I think it was overall bad for the industry. Our company is called Local Media because we're one of the few local companies. We're live and local. We own only 3 radio stations, and being local is very important to us. So while the other companies are these national kind of boring radio because they don't believe in live talent or local radio anymore, we believe the opposite. We believe radio is about the people. Radio is about the DJs and the local audience and what they want.
Coming back to your paper to Mozambique, I took you on a 1-minute visit of Radio Mozambique, the building.
Yes.
What impressed you?
Well, I will tell you that so far, this tour of your building has been the highlight of my trip, and it probably will be the highlight of my trip. I have visited 2 buildings that have really impressed me and really wowed me in my life. One is the Palace of Saddam Hussein. I saw that in April. My 100th country was Iraq, and Saddam owned 7 palaces, and we were able to tour one of them. And it was vacant. Obviously he's not there anymore. But the tour, the palace was grand, and it was unoccupied, but it was just this amazing building. This radio facility rivals that palace for a couple of reasons. Because it's so big. I'm impressed of how many studios you have and how many people are working in the building. You have producers and sound engineers and security guards and program directors. You have, in one studio I saw a live band recording. I also love that it's a building from the 30s. The building has so much character, which I mentioned in the hallway. I go, I hope you never remodel the building, because I walk through these halls and everything from the on-air lights to the soundproofing to the doors. So much history. I mean, this is a dream come true for a radio guy like me.
I know you won't have a lot of time to be in Mozambique. We call Maputo one of the busiest cities in Southern Africa. Have you ever had a chance of tasting the Mozambican food? What do you think about it?
I have not yet. Tonight's going to be my first time. I have dinner with a friend who's also traveling in Mozambique, I think he's working out here, so he's going to take me to a local restaurant. And what should I have? What's the one dish that I should have?
Try our fish.
Okay.
Our fish with coconut stew.
Okay.
That will be very good.
Fantastic.
What about music? You had a chance to listen to some?
Not much. The taxi driver had some music on. I'm not sure what radio station it was. It was some bossa nova music. It was very good, but I haven't had a chance to, so I need to find a radio so I can tune in. And are your stations available to listen online? Can I listen when I'm home as well?
Mm-hmm.
Yes? Okay, fantastic.
If you are to tell one American to come to Mozambique, what will you say? What will be your reasons for the person to come to Mozambique?
I would tell them that Mozambique is like no other country in Africa, and that their senses and I'll tell them what happened to me. My senses and my mind kind of went haywire in a good way. Mozambique isn't what you expect for Africa. So I'd say many surprises.
We are getting towards the end of this interview. Probably this will be the last question. What would you like to say to Mozambique and Mozambicans?
Well, I would say this. I'm from America. I'm from the United States, and I would say the news, the news media, the international news media, has an interesting way of showing just one picture. For example. Sometimes what the news may show Americans about Africa isn't entirely true. So I would say for the people that are maybe this is their first hand listening to an American talk one-on-one, I would say thank you. Thank you for being hospitable and friendly. And so far your country has been nothing but beautiful and very kind to me. And that I send a message from myself, my colleagues, and all of my friends in the United States that we just simply send love, and we're here on the radio, and we can all share one thing, and that's music. And I think music brings people together. That's what's bringing us together today, right, Charles? Me and you and all of our listeners. So I would say that I share lots of love to you, the listeners, from all of my friends in the United States, and I hope that we will stay in touch.
Unfortunately, I'm not a good fisherman, but I would advise you to try a Mozambican fish.
I'm going to do it.
But try also to dance some Mozambican music. Marabenda, I'm going to play one for you here in the studio.
Oyo baba Ntameli awotela kuhlamala uka enga habuti lo mukama wireless kasi wanu kona madala ingatwa lezo wasitwa lezo sungahlamusela sokukasi swindu singakuyentsha akusutshama malembe inkoku yozwe
hey mangani anze uzumba le kachamani kama zikhohlanga mwana shimanganini ngekho sele zilakutibisa mina bachekulo ezokuthi sengathi amadala ikona angayoyetlela amadala akho awuthi watsha hambi ishikosi ungangonyoda phela ishikosi kungonyo walithi asuna leyo ilisenga lelo wasithi Happy Francis kunanza muona obonyozele marama imekubonyo bonyo anza ulishimanga nina kine rumba bushu ingiselani senga tamadala liti Papio mandazi shidimingwani Juan Kosa Mucheka Diloni Zemkabele kolo manga kona atalito tsimuli wena Ernesto mkashikose ngashikumbani ingisela amngano wethu amakuso angabhitise nga ugwedla lo watsa utwa muntu khoma ila utwa muntu khoma ila wamtibanya mzenzano kachina Dimsa. Ay. What? Habila wa magarada kubi. Kungunyo. Amagarada. Amuzika lokudaka mchine kwenu. Wena Tomash Magaya ungazisisa matinyo. Na wena Ernesto Zwalo ungalapha matisho nzamirungula lisimuli. Ungalikholke nsinene imina nzimela. Futhi na wena mshango uziye shungaka tshentshana. Wena uziye khumula sa umngano wakho rungula lisimuli. Lokhu kulitonga sukuchina utatsoleka nenge. Watwa? Itisenga tashikosha lesho. Iba wathi senga lwachaya kubeka izebrani jasho fanele wentima wena zeka cheko mngano wami lokho nzichaya ati shukuri ngunyutela iroom kudushu Suleiman City Chinisa Romu Suleiman man Unyo Ushu Suleiman City Vai sofu Mubwa bateria la mimi Newe na uchina man Maninyo newe na uchina nisi mlini Hau Asuna yunikazi